not able to join, we will be able to, of course, have the recording. So I'm glad we're doing that. I'd like to introduce key members of the team that are here tonight, and then I'll be passing it over to one of the key team members. So we have John Ulrich, who you'll also hear from tonight. We also have Tanya Del Reo, Commissioner of ISD, Dennis Roach, Superintendent of Waste Reduction, Avantika, who's also on the waste reduction team, Luke, who is the project manager for this project as well as many others, and of course, Chief Dion Irish. I'd like to actually hand it over to Chief Dion Irish to say a few words about the Boston Road Action Plan and the team and his leadership over the policy proposal. Chief Irish.
Uh, Thanks, Chief Malloy. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see so many people engaged in this. I've seen some names who have been engaged in prior conversations, and it goes to show that Boston's not just a great sports city, but a city that's also very much engaged on issues large and small. And this is certainly an issue that's important to the mayor's office, and which is why we've taken such a coordinated, historic approach to how we're dealing with this. We've also always been very fortunate to have a great rodent control team. When I started with the city in 1995 and we were experiencing the big dig, we invested heavily at that time in having a great team that John Ulrich now leads, where we have inspectors who are also pest control professionals, and they holistically are treating and educating, treating rodents and educating folks on how we can prevent rodents. However, we know that in order for us to be successful and to really see a measurable impact and reduction of the rodent population, we can't just rely on inspectional services or enforcement or code enforcement. It needs to be a more coordinated approach. And I'm happy to say in my 30 years, I've never seen such a coordinated effort that involves so many city agencies, some which you'll hear speak today, but some who won't be speaking today, but they're a part of this, engaged in regular meetings and working on different initiatives to proactively and reactively address this issue. However, an important component of making sure that we have an effective Boston Rodent Action Plan is community, which is you all. So glad that you're here. We want to hear from you, and we want to work with you towards a solution that we can all be proud of, and make Boston a home for everyone except rats. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Chief Lamar.
Thank you, Chief Irish. That's my favorite tagline. Thank you for your leadership and your experience just leading this initiative. It's a collaborative affair. So before I get into the agenda tonight, I want to make sure that we agenda set once again, and set the guidelines for this conversation. We are here to provide, well, we're here as a city to hear from you all on feedback on ways that we can improve the trash collection process. As Chief Iris mentioned, there's many folks on this call that have been deeply invested for a long time, so we want to hear from you. We will start off with a short presentation from the team, some of the folks that I mentioned earlier, but majority of the time at the end of the night is for you all to give comments. We will have a timer of 1.5 minutes per comment/questions, but we really want to hear from you guys and feedback on how we can be improving. So please make sure you're preparing your comments. We are again eager to hear your thoughts and comments. This meeting is ending at 7 p.m. promptly, so please be mindful. We have a packed call tonight. If we do not get to your comment or section, we do have, you could drop your concerns or questions in the chat. We will follow up. Everyone had to register to be here, so we have everyone's email. But if we do not get to you, there's an avenue to make sure your comments and concerns are heard. So that's that. Now let's get into the agenda. Tonight, we will learn more about the Boston Rodent Action Plan. We'll hear from our Public Works team about how rats and trash are very connected, as we all know. But we primarily, like I said earlier, will save time to hear directly from you all and to consider ways on how to improve the process. So to start off, of course, John, who has many, many, many years of experience in this space and has expertise to lead a lot of this, I want to pass it over to John Ulrich for Assistant Commissioner to talk about, to present some slides on the BRAT program as well. I think you're muted. You have to ask to unmute. Here you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks,
Yes.
Chief Malloy. John Ulrich, I'm the Assistant Commissioner of Environmental Services at ISD. I'm also the co-chair of the Boston Rodent Action Plan. So over 2 years ago, the city partnered with Dr. Bobby Corrigan, the world's leading rodentologist, to produce a comprehensive report on Boston's rodent challenges. The Boston Rodent Action Plan that emerged from his recommendations calls for a couple of things: establishing a citywide leadership group to coordinate work across agencies, using data to guide rodent interventions and investments, deploying new technologies to monitor and control rodent populations, and making meaningful improvements to trash collection systems and infrastructure. Since the report was published, the city has been working to implement many of Dr. Corrigan's recommendations, which we'll discuss in the next couple slides. As Chief Irish mentioned, the focus and ultimate goal of the Boston Rodent Action Plan is to measurably reduce rodent activity across the city and improve the quality of life for all Boston residents. Next slide. So we're focused on a few key areas of work, including collecting data and monitoring intervention strategies, which I'll speak about in more detail in the next slide. Improving the trash collection process, which current focus is listening to you folks and understanding the trade-offs and what changes that you would like to see implemented in trash. Launching an education and awareness campaign to help residents adopt proper habits and reduce activity, and collaborating with external partners, including universities, state agencies, to share our knowledge, improve the collaboration and coordination to strengthen our approach. These core areas form the foundation of our ongoing efforts to reduce rodent populations and improve the quality of life across neighborhoods. Next slide. One of the key recommendations in the Boston Rodent Action Plan is to use data to guide our investments and intervention strategies. So far, we've deployed more than 275 microshare motion sensors. They're infrared motion sensors, and we put them inside bait boxes across parks, public alleys, BHA properties, and city facilities. These sensors measure rodent activity, and they also help us determine where we should focus our mitigation efforts. The sensors serve two major purposes. The first, to track pilots that we're rolling out, and the second is to identify rodent hotspots across neighborhoods. This slide shows the data we've collected. So in the last, I think, 6 weeks, this is the data we've collected in parks and public alleys. We're using the data to measure the success of the new rodent-resistant barrels and barrel toppers. So we have changed the style of barrel in many of the parks to a Victor Stanley. It's a rodent-resistant barrel. And the toppers are a fully enclosed addition to our old 55-gallon drums. Fully encloses the trash. Other departments are also piloting complementary strategies, including we have saw traps in the north end, in the back bay, 2 different kinds of traps. One is a smart pipe. The other one is a trigger, but both collect data. Surface traps, these are smart surface traps. So every time it mitigates a rodent, we get a data point on the screen. So that's happening in South Boston, in Chinatown. We're working on a new trash compactor and frontage road to help with public works and street trash, and AI-driven cameras that collect data in Alston and the South End. This is a specific example of a pilot that we have at BHA, implemented through the funding of the participatory budget program. The project introduced commercial level trash. So currently BHA has a residential level service. We've increased that service to a commercial level service, and we've provided, we're going to install new dumpsters, new trash receptacles. Using sensors, we're collecting baseline data on the rodent activity. So we got the sensors out there early. We also have the AI cameras set up in 2 locations. In the coming weeks, we'll enhance the trash collection process to evaluate how to improve waste management impacts on rodent populations. Since the trash is the leading driver of rodent activity, we're working across all the departments to reduce rodents' access to food and waste. With that, I'll turn it over to Dennis. He can talk more about proper trash management and how improving trash will help us with the rodent issue.
Thank you, John. My name is Dennis Roach. I'm the superintendent of waste reduction for Boston Public Works. I essentially oversee all trash and recycling contracts at residences across the city. I also oversee the code enforcement division, which oversees our trash violation process and really seeks to educate residents on proper trash putouts. I want to talk a little bit about the situation we're in Boston. Boston is an old city. Boston has been around for a couple of 100 years. We have 150-year-old sewer systems. We have rat-friendly alleys and street corners, tightly packed neighborhoods. Basically, a huge challenge with picking up trash in the city. These tight alleys, these tight areaways allow us to use specialized trucks in certain areas. We have to use many smaller trucks to collect trash in a lot of areas, and it's incredibly challenging to collect trash in the city of Boston. The biggest evidence of that is many of the national trash companies want no part of collecting trash in the city of Boston. They prefer the outside districts and neighborhoods or states and towns that have automated trash, where Boston is a very manual process with a truck that drives around with a driver and a shaker on the back of the truck, loading trash into the hopper like we've done for about 50 years in the city of Boston. It creates a very difficult environment. Basically, when your trash is put in the street, it becomes a free buffet dinner for all rats. The city has not required bins, and I want to be really clear on this thing with trash in the city. While it is a state law to containerize all your trash, due to some of the issues in Boston with how to collect trash, the city has chosen not to enforce bins on trash day. We do not require it on trash day. When your trash is contained on your property on non-trash days, we do enforce that. So your bins must be lidded and stored properly if you keep your trash on non-trash days. But once it comes to the curb, we do not require a bin. Many reasons for that. Certain neighborhoods, they can't store bins in containers due to tight quarters in their apartments. There's also certain neighborhoods where the parking is so tight in the street that pulling a bin between cars is almost impossible when trying to run the trash truck down the street. Next slide, please. Top 5 reasons why rats like trash. Essentially, they need to eat. Rats are looking for food and scraps in trash bags. They're looking for animal waste. They're looking for people that have bird feeders or feed birds in the streets. They're looking for food. Rats look to build homes and settle around in areas where scraps are available and readily available. Like again, rats love pet waste for trash. That's why you see rats often in parks, and they're looking for either food or pet waste within trash. They have an incredibly keen sense of smell. They can identify food sources quickly. And if John has taught me anything, they know where those food sources are, and they go back and repeat going back to those food sources repeatedly because they know they're readily available. And they look for clutter. They look for cluttered areas. They look for trash clutter. They look for brush or anything like that. So keeping your property neat and tidy is definitely a way to mitigate against rats. Next slide, please. So how do you prevent rats in your neighborhood? Again, it's limiting access to food, water, and shelter. All the things I just previously mentioned. Manage your trash possibly. Use sturdy barrels with tight fitting lids to avoid placing bags directly on the sidewalk. I know that's a challenge in many neighborhoods, but any way you can containerize is an advantage for trash and rats. The later you push out your trash in the morning, the better off you are. I think a few years ago, about 5 years ago now, the city moved their trash start time from 7 a.m. to 6 a.m. The city has realized while it was done for good reasons at the time, for trash trucks to get off the street quicker, to avoid traffic, to avoid the normal hustle and bustle of daily life. We do realize it has created some problems in neighborhoods where residents now have to put out trash overnight, and it's keeping trash on the street a lot later. So try to manage your setup time as best possible, as close to collection as possible. Don't overfill your barrels. Lids must be tightly secured. Rats can jump in and out of barrels pretty regularly. And then store your food waste in sealed containers, compost bins. I know a lot of people like to freeze their food waste before they put it into their food waste bin or even trash bin these days. Also can help eliminate rats getting at your food. Maintain your property, eliminating standing water, bird baths, buckets, seal holes, cracks in your properties, foundation walls, and doors. Keep all yards, alleys, spaces free of clutter, wood, debris, trash, anything that would attract and allow rats to create a nest. And always be a good neighbor. Work with your landlord, your condo board, especially if you live in a large building, with rat mitigation programs, making sure trash is managed properly, recycling managed properly, and that it's not accessible to rats. Next slide. So before we get into our community feedback and peer research section, I just want to give a quick overview of what we've been doing. To date, we've held 2 focus groups meetings and 1 large community meeting. We're learning from other peer cities, most specifically Toronto and New York, who have taken a very aggressive approach to rat mitigation. We're researching alternative trash models. We're looking at more containerization models. We've definitely looked at community containerization. We're basically looking for something unique to Boston's neighborhoods. It might actually even vary by neighborhoods as we go through the next trash contracts, which and how to better pick up trash. And that's basically the focus, is how we better pick up trash and leave trash on the streets for less amount of time. In the weeks ahead, we're going to evaluate all these ideas based on cost and financial feasibility and operational impact. We'll be implementing recommendations in the upcoming trash contracts. We have contracts that are set to expire in about a year and a half. We're looking very closely at all these things today, and many reasons why you guys are in the room tonight is to hear all kinds of ideas about how we can better make these contracts serve our neighborhoods better, where trash is mitigated and left off the streets, so rats can't get access for a longer period of time. And again, rodent control solutions we've been looking at. John got a little into how we're looking at better trappening, piloting birth control, expanding sewer trap programs, public education and transparency. We're reaching across neighborhoods now to get community feedback. It's incredibly important. Like I think it was mentioned earlier that trash is a collaborative. There is nothing we can put on the streets, and there is not a dollar figure we can infuse into this unless we get communication. Communication and cooperation from residents. It's incredibly important that residents take some of these mitigation strategies seriously, communicate them to the neighbors, hold themselves accountable, and I think that's what will lead to a measured success. And again, we're going to be expanding our resources and service with the city, more composting bids, dog waste stations, and accessibility to 311 reporting, where we can respond quickly to rat and trash situations. That's the basis of my presentation of today. I'd like to turn it back over to Chief Malor for questions and comments.
Thank you, Dennis and John, for the presentation. So now we're going to allow the bulk of tonight's meeting to have comment section. We will have a timer. So again, be mindful, like 1.5 minutes per person. We want to make sure we hear from as many people as possible. And I will go to the first person that I see with their hands up. Please raise your hand, use the raise your hand function. It should be in your reaction button, and you just click raise your hand. And also you could also drop your comments or concerns in the chat. I see Kathleen as well, so I know that your hand's not, you can't put your hand up, but we'll put Laureline first, and then Kathleen will have you at the end because I know you're having trouble raising your hand.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. Just to let you know, the chat was disabled, so I don't know if you guys
It's
just
open now. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate what you just said. I think it is the residents a big problem. I actually called 311 today to tell them that my neighbor yet again has their trash out at 2:38. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. The trash is supposed to go out the night before trash pickup after 5 p.m. So right then and there, they're putting their trash out. We're not talking about one barrel. We're talking about 4 barrels with all this trash that's now windy day blowing around on my property. That's number one. And I've actually came out of my house and found raw rice, all this food in front of my driveway. And I'm like, who is putting this there? My security cameras showed not one, not two, not three, but 4 wild turkeys, which I lived in owned my house for 30 years, in front of my yard. And I was able to get the license plate of the vehicle that is coming and dumping food to feed the birds. There should be major violations for people that are feeding the birds bread, rice, all kinds of food because that's attracting the rats. My trash pickup, if we could get the trash pickup to come earlier, I live in Dorchester, they come between 12 and 3 o'clock. Similar to the recycle bins, I would pay for a bin to put my trash in. I specifically put my trash out the day of trash because of the rodents. Dorchester, where I live, only 1 pickup a week. It would be great if there was 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Marie Fukuda.
Sorry, I think there was one person in front of me. I'm not sure who it was, but
They may have put their hand down. So the if your hand's up, it automatically goes to the queue. But
Okay.
I don't know if you're talking about Kathleen. I'm putting Kathleen after Janice.
Great, thanks so much. I really appreciate the work that the city's been doing and also the ISD team. They've been coming to my neighborhood quite frequently. I did want a chance to say, I think that the Fenway has been overlooked. When I first read the RAD action plan when it was released and learned that the focus neighborhoods came from 311 reports, I thought that that was a kind of incomplete way to prioritize neighborhoods. A neighborhood like ours with high density, high numbers of public events, big community gardens and development, we have them all, so we see it all. My biggest concern is that I think that ISD is overworked. The thing that bothers me is that I have open containers in parks that I steward, and when ISD comes and they treat a borough and then there's another food source there, I feel like that is kind of giving them a terrible job. It's like asking a dentist to treat someone who's eating candy every day. So I would like to see expansion of the rat-proof bins in all city and public works owned parks. I would love to fundraise and implement some myself if that was something that would be welcomed. I also think that expanding the Oscar bins would be a great way to do things as well. I have a few more seconds to late. Expanding the Project
Sorry.
Oscar.
Sorry, can you, because you hit your 1.5 minutes, can you wrap up?
I will, sorry, I started late, Brianna. Expanding the Project Oscar bins and maybe reorganizing pickups to specifically address food waste in a separate subsection. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bob Barney.
Hi there. Thanks for this meeting. Great information. I just had 2 questions, which are things I probably should have asked before and I didn't. One thing that I found effective where I live in the South End is the Hokie program. I'm just kind of wondered if you consider that, if that's part of your kind of, your overall program. Will that Hokie program stay? And these are folks that pick up trash on major streets. That's one question. The second question for me, I'm part of the Southwest Corridor Park Conservancy, and it's a 4.7-mile park, and it's got trash bins on it. You know, it's a well-used park. It goes from Back Bay to Forest Hills. And so I'm just kind of curious if you are working with the state as far as the bins on the Southwest Corridor Park, because we do see rats jumping in and out of them. So just wanted to bring up those 2 points. I don't know if anybody can answer that or follow up later. Thank you.
Yeah, Bob, we'll follow up later on those questions.
Yeah, so this is just a agenda expectation set. Again, this is like for us to collect comments. We could follow up with questions post meeting, but we really want to hear recommendations. But Maria, what's next?
Oh, hi. Well, where I live in East Boston, I live up Orion Heights, and I live across from the Belle Isle Marsh. So the problem we're having in this section is not so much to do with trash, but to do with the large amount of construction that's going on around us. And we found an increase in the rat population due to when they're excavating the landfill, and it's just like a release of many, many rats. And I think part of that is due to back in 2019, we had a large fire at the New England Casket Company. And ever since then, all the rats, I think, came down the street to where we live. And I've even engaged in private services like Terminex, and it just got so costly that we really had to take matters in our own hand. My husband has caught over 100 rats in probably the last year and a half. I've called, the people from the city have come down, and they've been very helpful. But I think what I would like to see would be more of an enforcement by the city for these contractors to provide rodent control when they're doing this construction, because I never see any boxes around. I never see anything. And I had construction right next door to where I live, and there was nothing. I mean, everything was coming our way. And I think so. Our problem in this section of the city is not so much related to trash or trash collection, but really by the uptick of construction that's kind of releasing the rats into the neighborhood. So if the city,
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
Maria, we could definitely,
yeah,
so your concern around construction mitigation on racks and construction sites, we could definitely make sure to make note of that. And also for folks to know, we are taking notes, very detailed notes of all the recommendations. Thank you.
okay, great. All right.
Philip Tucker.
Nice. Is that all right?
Good evening. I work at Mission Main, the historic Mission Hill, and we've had identified problem. Although we've made some progress in rat mitigation, we've identified that residents predominantly that they're coming out of catch basins and areas that our vendors say they can't treat because it's city property. And I wanted to know, one, what strategies the city's doing to be able to treat those in particular in high density areas, such as, a apartment complex that has over 500, units. And then do you foresee collaborating with potential private vendors if to get that coverage and be able to again further mitigate and eliminate the problem? That was it.
Thanks, Philip. What I heard was a question, but I'm going to formulate that as a comment. So making sure that the city's prioritizing how our relationships on trash and or rodent mitigation for larger developments or larger buildings is what I heard from you.
In particular,
Yeah.
catch basins and the drains areas we're finding are havens for the rats, areas that we can't treat because it's city property.
Okay.
That component as well. Thank you.
After Philip, I see a number, 401 number, then Janice, and then Kathleen Quill. The 401 number can unmute themselves.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Just wanted to echo the thanks of others for your efforts here. This is quite a task for this city, so thank you again. I think two main comments. One would be with respect to multiple trash pickups a week. I understand that that might be cost prohibitive, especially given that you know, we don't have a lot of private contractors who are willing to serve the city. In lieu of that, maybe there could be ad hoc trash pickup during the week. So for example, you know, let's say you have a bit extra trash one week, could you put out a bin early, earlier than your typical trash pickup day, and, you know, put in a 311 request and have it picked up? I know there's been instances where some buildings, they missed trash day, right? And then they have to sit with their bins for the rest of the week because there's no option to otherwise pick it up during the week. And then my second question or ask, I guess, would be, if for habitual violators for, you know, either buildings or residences that aren't storing their trash correctly, I understand that, you know, they get issued a ticket. There are buildings that get issued tickets, you know, 30, 50 times in a year, and then there's no other enforcement or penalty beyond that. So exploring how, you know, you could empower your department to have further enforcement powers beyond just, you know, the $35 ticket over and over and over again that doesn't otherwise seem to change behavior for certain buildings. So thanks again.
Thank you for sharing. And what I heard was, you know, of course, increase enforcement. How do we deter that bad behavior and habitual behavior, bad behavior as well? So thank you for that comment. Janice, and then Kathleen, and then Kristen.
Hi, thank you. I live in Jamaica Plain, and we had a serious rat problem several years ago, which was mainly because neighbors didn't store their trash properly and had a lot of clutter in their yard. And it took a while for them to take control of the situation. I would be in support of the city enforcing, as the previous speaker said, you know, residents that don't properly throw out their trash, meaning they don't have covers on it, et cetera, et cetera. I went for a walk Monday or Tuesday, whenever our trash day was, and I was appalled to see the way people put out their trash. I mean, overflowing bins, no covers with food. And I mean, to me, that seems like one place to start with enforcing people in their habits and maybe educating people, but also enforcing, because some people know, but they don't really, you know, take the time to make it or make an effort. The other thing is not only residents, but landlords, enforcing landlords' responsibility. And as someone else mentioned, construction people. I mean, anyone who's responsible for a building should be held accountable, I think, for taking care of the trash in a positive way. One other thing is, in terms of working with your neighborhood, I was wondering if the city offers any support for group meetings, because it's hard to engage neighbors. Sometimes they're very sensitive. So, you know, if there's any sort of support by representatives from the city, having meetings in neighborhoods to talk to neighborhoods about what they can do, et
Yeah,
cetera.
we're definitely happy to do that. Just definitely we can put our proper city contacts in the chat. But thank you for that recommendation. And I believe maybe Dennis may have mentioned this at the end of his presentation, is that like it does require buy-in from all residents on keeping the city clean, and rodent mitigation and stuff like that. So I agree with your first point as well. So thank you for your comments, Janice. Kathleen? Quill, you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I have two questions. I own a 3-story brick row house on Symphony Road behind Symphony Hall. And with respect to rat resistant, ideally rat proof, trash barrels that residents can use, to put out behind their building. The two options seem to be, the heavy duty plastic barrels on wheels with lids, closed lids, by Toter, for example, or your old fashioned metal trash cans. The problem with the metal trash cans, I realize they're more rat resistant, but they're not on wheels. So I've looked at your website, I've Googled this. I can't find good options for rat resistant or better rat proof trash barrels. Because the plastic ones, as I understand it, the rats will chew right through them, even though they might have a tight fitting lid. So I don't know whether the city is researching or
So that, I mean, that's something that we are obviously researching and looking into. As mentioned previously, there's no like city barrels. Like I know other cities require their residents like purchase a particular trash can. But that's something that we can be mindful of as we're rolling out this plan.
I mean, does the city have any opinion on the heavy duty plastic
The
trash
city
barrel?
doesn't, since we do not like recommend, since we do not like require payments of a certain barrel, so it's hard to make that recommendation, if that makes sense. Like if we don't require you guys to purchase a certain type of
Okay.
barrel.
All right,
But we can think about that as the part of the plan.
Okay, all right, my next comment very quickly. I received a citation from the city yesterday. First time I had been contacted, indicating that, you've got to make you do X, Y, Z. Nothing major, except that I have to hire, according to this citation, a pest control company and submit a report. And all of this has to be accomplished. I've got a 7-day window. And if I
So
don't.
sorry, Kathleen, you're over time, so I'm happy to get your contact information to see what's happening with your particular case.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kathleen,
Yeah.
I'll follow up with you right now in the chat for your email, okay?
Thank you. Christine, you're next.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I agree with two of the last speakers in regards to the landlords. I don't think there's enough for the landlords that don't live here, the absentee landlords. As a property owner here, we take care of our property. We have neighbors that don't. Had an issue a year and a half ago with a dozen rat burrows on their property. Abatements were filed, but I don't know if anything was ever followed up on. And lo and behold, a year and a half later, now they have their rats in the house. And now the landlord's finally doing something. And I feel that when they're not around, they're just getting their rent check. They're all set. I raised the concern to them about having brush in their yard. I was told it was vegetation, that it wasn't an issue. Tonight here, you're saying that they like to hide in it or whatever. Like, I feel like sometimes the people that are trying to do the right thing, you just end up hitting a brick wall. And I think the landlords need to be more accountable for their property, whether they have renters there or whatnot. It's just not enough. It's not enough. So can you tell me what happens after the abatement is filed? Who monitors those abatements? I've been told, I know that they can take a month, months, weeks, whatever, but who follows up with them to make sure that they're continuing to maintain their property or even addressing it to begin with?
Chief, do you want me to answer that real quick?
Yeah, if you want to answer it very quickly.
Yeah, so when an abatement form a violation is served, they have 7 days from the date of service to correct the violation. There is then a reinspection. At the reinspection, if the problem isn't corrected, then they're sent to an administrative hearing at ISD. If it's not resolved at the hearing or before, they're forwarded to housing court, where they go through a legal process, show cause, and eventually they will end up in front of a judge if the problem isn't resolved. So the inspector is constantly going back to check trying to communicate with the owner. We do every effort to contact homeowners before we write a violation and all through the process, just to communicate. These are remedial violations. They have no fine, but they will end up in housing court if you don't correct it.
Thank you, John. The next hands that I see is Andrew, then Fabine. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong.
Hi, thank you. I live in Jamaica Plain. First of all, just thanks for the meeting, just to reiterate that again. This is, I guess, underscoring comments that have already been made. An anecdotal example, I think, maybe has universal applicability. I abut a property owned by a large, for the neighborhood, large residential / commercial landlord. Landlord does not live there. Problem property, many 311 complaints. ISD has acknowledged it's a problem property. And it's again that situation where I know that fines are issued regularly. There's trash all over the backyard. There's the brush. There's rats that flow in and out of the house. And the trash cans are never closed. Even after these violations, I happen to be able to see the yard all the time. Even after the inspectors come by, the trash cans are never closed. But beyond the anecdote is just to think creatively about the possibility of, to the degree that this is not already the case and could be the case, penalty escalation for habitual offenders who do not address the issue. If there's a different approach or the law allows the possibility of dealing with non-resident large landlords in a different way than either someone who, you know, an elderly person who can't quite deal with some situation in their own home. If there are ways to make it in the cost benefit analysis that these landlords do, that it's going to be worse result for them to ignore this than relatively small fines over time. Thank you.
Thank you for that feedback. So escalated penalties for big landlords. That's helpful to hear. I just want to do a time check. We're at 15 minutes. So Fabine, again, apologies if I mispronounce your name. You're next. And then Dan, Cameron, and then Andrew would be probably the last person based on hand raise. So if you want to get your comment in, raise your hand now so we can put you in the last queue.
Hey there. I also live in Jamaica Plain in a 10-unit multi-address building with 3 compost bins. And my neighbors have been getting very upset because they believe that rats have been managing to knock over our compost bins and then glutting themselves on the fresh treats inside. That happens in our garden in the 3 places where we keep all our trash before we bring them out, which for me raises the question of, can someone explain to me what is the meaningful distinction between having your trash on the street and having it in whatever outside space trash lives? You mentioned the importance of waiting until as late as possible to bring trash out onto the street. But considering the fact that rats move freely between the street and yards or trash sheds, I'm just wondering how that is meaningful on a level of population control, or if it's just a question of the city takes responsibility for rats on the street, but not so much with rats on actual properties. You know what I'm saying? Like, how does having rat trash on the street versus off the street make any difference to population?
From my understanding, it's mainly like just overall cleanliness. Like, John, I don't know if you want to answer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sorry. So the limiting the time the trash sits on the street, we're mainly thinking about trash bags, trash that isn't in a container, we'll have in a house, downtown neighborhoods that don't have barrels, they don't have a place to put their trash. Limiting the amount of time that trash sits on the street will reduce the chance it becomes a food source for rats. So if you're in Jamaica Plain and you have a bunch of barrels, the time that your barrels go out doesn't make a huge difference. But if you're putting trash on the street for pickup in a trash bag, limiting the amount of time that trash bag sits on the street makes a huge difference.
Thank you. So Dan, Cameron, Andrew, then I seen Harry, and then Sarah's are going to be our last question or comment for the night. Dan?
Hey there. I just want to say thank you first for having this meeting. You guys are great. So I'm a property manager for 35 HOAs in the city, and we've been having issues with the rats, like getting into people's cars and chewing through wires and such. And like I've gone as far as like writing like letters and such and going around to all the businesses in the area, all the different HOAs, just and you're like, hey, this is our issue. Like, can we all work together on this? But like every single one of them got back to me, all the restaurants, all of them have like comprehensive pest control. They're either getting hit twice a month or once a month, but like everyone around us has pest control and we don't know what to do next. Like the rat situation is getting pretty bad. And we're just curious, like what are some of the resources like available to us? Like you had mentioned earlier, some of these like rat monitoring cameras and such. Like, can we apply to the city to like get more resources to help combat this? Thank you.
Thank you. I can definitely, well, one, the goal of this conversation tonight is to take additional action outside of a lot of the pilot and interventions the cities have already taken. So I'm happy to kind of follow up offline. Luke, I don't know if you want to follow up. Yeah.
Yeah, Dan, we'll follow up offline. And I think, it sounds like it would be helpful for us to do a little bit of a neighborhood walkthrough with some of the city departments, so we can coordinate that and make that work.
Thank you. Cameron?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to come together and talk about this. So I live in a twice a week trash pickup neighborhood, which I know has been a topic this evening, and a few people have requested that their neighborhood do so. And I think this kind of came up pointed to earlier, but I kind of am questioning how much this trash pickup matters in terms of quantity of days a week. While I understand, I feel like I could argue just as well that twice a week pickup is just twice as many buffets, if you will, for trash bags on the side of the street. And I'm sitting in my kitchen right now. I can hear rats squeaking downstairs outside the apartment. And my question kind of leads to more to, while I do understand that trash pickup and rat problem is very intertwined, if not one and the same at times. I'm hearing a lot of talk about that, and not as much in terms of what the city is doing in regard to just extermination and limiting the problem from the source. I understand the policies that can help this. It's 13,000 people per capita in Boston, and getting everyone in the same wave is not as easy as it seems. So I was wondering what's being done in terms of just trying to subdue the population entirely.
I can respond to that really quickly, Chief. So this meeting is focused on one of the key priorities, which is trash collection, but we have a lot of different technology that John kind of hit on earlier. So, if you would like, Cameron, we're happy to kind of set up a one-on-one call and walk you through some of that, but that includes the new technology that John mentioned for the surface and sewer traps, the new trash cans in the parks. All of these different strategies have the same purpose of mitigating rats and also taking away those key factors, which is food, water, and shelter, which drive rodent populations. So, happy to explain more, but that's kind of the purpose of tonight's call, is focused on one of the 4 priority areas for us.
Thanks, Luke. Andrew?
Oh, I want to say thank you for this call. This is great. I am a local property manager. I have several properties that I oversee. We're doing between weekly and biweekly pest control services. And I think those are very helpful, but similar to a lot of questions, as another property manager was on here, Dan, we are just really looking for some resources on what the city can do to help us as property managers. I understand trash is a huge issue, but I think in general, we have boroughs all over the Boston market where they are living, and just trying to see what other resources that we may not know about as property managers, as business owners locally throughout the area. If it would be nice if you guys could send me over some resources, and maybe we could coordinate something with your team or some other people, especially with local businesses, and how we can help eliminate this problem as a team, not so much as what Boston can do for us, but what we can do as a team.
Yeah, great suggestion, Andrew. We'll follow up with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Harry, and then Sarah will be our last commenter.
Hi, thank you very much for doing this. I live on Dartmouth Street between Marlborough and Beacon, right around the corner from the alley. And I've been there for a long time. I've never seen as many rats as baby rats as well. We have a garden in front of our building on Dartmouth Street, and I've had to hire a exterminator company. And in like a few months, they caught 25 rats. One of the biggest problems, and I've talked to the city so many times about it, why do you allow people to put that trash out the day before? It used to be you had to put it out the morning of the pickup, and then we used to monitor that, and we would tell people they can't do it. But now you can put it out the day before, and then what happens is they put it out 2 or 3 days before, and it sits there for 3 days, and the rat problem is just the worst I've ever seen. And I've asked so many times, why can't the city say that you can only put your trash out on the day of collection?
Thank you, Harry. I'm also monitoring the chat to make sure folks. Sasha, you can have you go last after Sarah.
Hi, and thank you. I just wanted to make a couple of points that maybe haven't been brought up in addition to the very important issue of regulating the trash a bit more. Certainly tidiness and cleanliness overall is important. But also, you know, having solutions coming from several different angles is going to help. I mean, you can't just exactly continue blasting the city with toxins because like those rat boxes, those toxins are harmful to all mammals, and that includes humans. So I think that's an important point to bring up, that we can also have holistic solutions coming in like landscaping. There are a number of plants that are toxic to rodents. There are also birds of prey and cats. So it can be several solutions to help mitigate perhaps. But the landscaping is huge because a city itself is sort of an artificial construct in nature. So if you are paving over so many of those natural solutions, like rats in a way are symptomatic of cities. So whatever we can do in the way of natural solutions is going to help landscaping. I just want to throw that out there because obviously regulating trash is going to help. Obviously people being cleaner is going to help, but coming at it from different angles is going to help too.
If I can take this, so thank you for your comments. The landscaping is a huge part of it. During the big dig, we had a epidemiologist, Bruce Colvin, who actually published a paper on landscaping and proper landscaping in urban for rodent prevention. So that is a big part. We work with the Parks Department to work that rodent prevention in new park designs and renovations. The other part of your comment, rodenticide. So in the report, there was a recommendation to stop using second generation anticoagulant. That is the most common rodenticide out there used. We have completely stopped using that, except in the sores, because it's the only rodenticide approved. But 99% of our treatments now are gassing burrows with carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide. So no risk of secondary poisoning. The other part of this is the trash, the landscaping, controlling the food. It's coming up with an integrated pest management strategy, putting the controls in place to go after the supportive environment that allow rodents to thrive, while also being aware that these chemicals are harmful to birds of prey, and so these other tools will allow us to eliminate our reliance on rodenticide.
Thank you, John. And then last I see Sasha in the chat wanted to say closing comments, if Sasha is still here.
Oh, hi, sorry. It wouldn't let me like unmute. No, I'm just calling, well, I'm just here on the behalf of my mom. I don't even live in Boston. I live in Cambridge, but just she's been living this location for more than like maybe like 6 years, and I feel like the rat situation has gotten like worse over time. So I was thinking like, and I wanted to echo what the others were saying, like maybe having more frequent trash pickup days, and then maybe like I know someone, I forgot the gentleman's name. They said like the streets are too tight to have like bigger trash cans, but maybe on that particular day have it like that one part of the street like be clear so that they can put out the like the bigger trash cans, because I just feel like something has to be done. The rats are getting like worse and I don't feel like it's getting any better. It's like getting to the point where like scared to even go to that part of Boston. So I just and I think that like more like outreach like this, like I found this call through a Cambridge site, and it wasn't through nothing. Like my mother doesn't even know anything about this. I'm like, I'm gonna go on the behalf of you. So maybe having more like outreach on how you can help prevent the rats from coming, like being a squeaky wheel, whether it's like hanging up like posters or pictures on the doors or something. But I feel like as just more like outreach will be better. But thank you for having the call.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you everybody for your comments and feedback tonight. It's 7 o'clock, so we're going to wrap up, but there's multiple ways that you can continue to get in touch with the Boston Road and Action Plan team. So feel free to visit our website, which is just boston.gov/rats. We have a lot of educational materials about, the proper ways to store your trash and take care of your property. But there's also ways to get in touch with the team. So if you have any additional feedback, please feel free to reach out. And if you see rodent activity in your neighborhood, we recommend reporting it to 311, and our team over at ISD will be responsive within 24 to 48 hours. We really appreciate everybody's time, and the feedback that you've provided tonight and will continue to provide will be extremely important as we try to make some efficient changes to the trash collection process that has a benefit for all and really reduces the rodent population in the city. But with that said, thank you again for your time, and we look forward to seeing you all very soon. Have a good night.